Okay, the SportsMax Ultimate 11 has selected 9 players of the 4-4-2 formation. We only have 2 days left, and we will, the zone group, 3 of us here, Wayne, George, and myself, will carry a 30% weight in the votes. Our guest panelists will also select players. They have 30% of the share of the votes as well. And you, the viewers, you'll be contributing a whopping 40%. That's how much your vote counts in this overall selection. For the home stretch of the debate, we must select 2 forwards from a list of 17 world-class footballers. Remember, voting online, sportsmax.tv/ultimate closes on Friday at midday. That's midday on Friday. And that's in approximately 1 day, 18 hours and 50 minutes from now. And online forward votes at the moment looking like this: Eusebio, 1.06%, Baggio, 2.13%, Cristiano Ronaldo, 36.17%, Pele, 37.59%, Kempes Puskas, 106, that's 1.06%, Lionel Messi, 48.58%, Di Stefano, 0.35%, Romario, 5.6%, Ronaldo, 54.26%, that's the Brazilian Ronaldo, Gerd Muller, 2.48%, Marco van Basten, 2.84%, George Weah, 2.13%, Mario Kempes, 0.71%, Hugo Sanchez, 0.00, oh, nothing, Jairzinho, 0.00, nothing, Sandor Kocsis, 0.00, he's a Hungarian who played successfully for Barcelona in the late 50s and early 60s. Georgie Best, 4.96%. Now, from those votes by the fans, the Ultimate 11 debate for forwards has actually already started, and the 8 lowest online vote getters are being booted off. That's the decision made, and only a unanimous vote from the panel and the zone team can save these players remaining. Okay, so these, based on the online voting at the moment, are not in the race. So maybe for guest panelists have strong enough words for them: Jairzinho, Kocsis, and Sanchez. Where's the others? Where are the others? The first 3 that are really...
Well, these are the 3 that had no votes.
Yep, 0.00. Complete
right.
0.
So these 3 had no votes.
They would have to pay me for
but
to vote for Sanchez.
there were others with 0.1 and 0.7. Di Stefano, Eusebio, Mario Kempes, Puskas, all these have just 2% votes. So based on the online votes at the moment, the 3 we saw before, joined by these 4, are not in the race. And it will take some exceptional debating from our guest panelists and maybe our zone presenters as well to present them, present cases for these players. Big names, huge names, these, because that's why they are there, because they were considered as candidates and in the conversation. We are joined online today by Ricardo Fuller, former Jamaica international and Stoke City successful striker in the English Premier League. And Ricardo Fuller, welcome to the SportsMax Zone, the Ultimate 11. We are down to selecting 2 forwards from a list of, well, 17 initial names. Let's get a comment from you, first of all, as a successful forward in your prime playing days. What are the key assets to a successful forward?
Good evening, George, Lance, Wayne. You know it go already. Successful striker forces goals, assists, work rate, linking up with your midfield partners, and most of us scoring goals. That's what it's about.
Yeah. How impressed are you with the list of 17 that we've got there? Certainly our online voters at the moment professing that Lionel Messi and the Brazilian Ronaldo are leading the votes online at the moment. Of course, that is just an online presentation, but we have a lot of discussion outside of that. How satisfied are you with the list that we've got there? And where are your preferences initially before we get into the meat of the debate?
To be honest, I had the list about 2 hours ago, and I haven't slept since. I probably started to see my face looking very weird right now. I'm trying to work on this unbelievable list. Trust me, unbelievable list.
Yes.
Di Stefano, Puskas, these guys all have history with goals. How many goals they have scored in the World Cup finals. You know, Jairzinho, Brazilian greats. Again, you have players like George Weah may not have enough time to really create a lot of impact in terms of history there. But I think Ronaldo, number 9, number 7, Messi, recent players doing their stuff right now. It's a tough list. I would break it down to 6. I had Pele, and I had Di Stefano, I had Ronaldo, number 9, and I have Gerd Muller, and I had Messi and Ronaldo. Being that is players during my time that I've seen play, and managed to play against Ronaldo myself. So, yeah, I've worked it out to 6. But I can say for me personally, I would choose Pele and Ronaldo, number 9. Okay, well, we are going to get there for your confirmed 2 eventually. But the players that got 0% and just 2%, Jairzinho, Kocsis, and Sanchez, 0% votes from our online participants, and only 2% from some other big names as well. Disrespected these players were by our online viewers? No, I wouldn't say it's disrespect. I mean, when you look at the criteria and choosing 2 players from such a great list of strikers during their international and their club careers, it's a hard task to choose the only 2. When you look at all their achievements, again, all the goals that they have scored, the Ballon d'Ors, the European Cups, each individual have their history, and it's a tough list. It's just that fans have to choose 2, and the 2 that the fans choose, I guess, is personal preference at the end of the day. Yeah, Juan G. Arango has now joined us online to be a part of this discussion. Juan, great to have you back on the SportsMax Ultimate 11 discussion here. We are tasked with the job of narrowing a list of 17 forwards to just 2. And based on the online votes, 7 of them have already disappeared. Have you seen them? Our producers outlined for you, Juan, the 7 big names, I must add, that aren't there. 2% votes coming from 4, Di Stefano, Eusebio, Kempes, and Puskas, and we had 0 votes coming in for Jairzinho, Kocsis, and Hugo Sanchez, the outstanding Mexican. You, as a big CONCACAF man, may be surprised that Sanchez got 0 votes. Juan?
No, I'm not, actually. No, I'm not. I'm actually not surprised at all, as you have to start looking at these types of players that, many of the people that were doing the surveys online might have never seen. It's just maybe some type of, thing that has been passed down from father to son or grandfather to son. So you don't see a lot of these things you haven't seen these players playing in person. Maybe you have to go to YouTube and start looking at some archive video of these types of players. So I'm not surprised whatsoever. And some of these players, in some aspects, have been out of the radar. Some have obviously passed away. Jairzinho, I mean, the most recent thing about him has been that he's been, in isolation in Brazil because he's been trying to stay away and trying to be in quarantine because of coronavirus. So many of the younger generations aren't too familiar with these types of players. Maybe Hugo Sanchez was a pundit in Mexico, but that's about it. So I kind of understand it. Same thing with Mario Kempes, who's been working as a pundit for the past 20.
I'll go first. Jairzinho and Puskas, it makes absolutely no sense to me that they wouldn't have received even 1 vote because they were so outstanding during their time. I mean, Jairzinho, I've heard so much about this guy. You have watched a lot. Obviously, I haven't watched half the amount of football that you have watched. I'm putting it out there, but Puskas and those guys, I've heard and read so much about these guys, and for them not to get even 1 vote, to me, is a travesty. Kempes, Mario Kempes, only 2 points. Two points. He was another stalwart for Argentina that I love to watch when they won the World Cup winner. Yes, they won it. Mario Kempes, big for him not to be featured in this way. It's sort of low. But however, I can appreciate some other names of persons who would want to go and vote for. So there's an appreciation for that as well.
Yeah. Do we agree that the 7 would be out, or do we debate it further?
No, I think we can be guided by what the online voting has said. Look, I didn't know I'd be on a panel that would boot Ferenc Puskas out of an Ultimate 11, one of the best players all time. Jairzinho is a little bit below these guys in my estimation. Hugo Sanchez was a scoring machine for Real Madrid until Messi happened and Ronaldo happened on La Liga and blew his records out of the water. He's what, 4th all time. Yes. Before Cristiano Ronaldo, Eusebio was in many people's books the best Portuguese footballer of all time, and he gets no vote.
But there are some who would still retain that he's the best of all time.
And there are some who would say that.
But I want to ask one question.
It's tragic.
When we look at these names, are we judging them from international football or
Everything.
club football?
Everything.
The reason why I said that because George Weah, for example, George Best, those guys weren't distinguished. They weren't distinguished at the international
But I'll say
level.
this to you. George Weah was a FIFA World Player of the Year and a Ballon d'Or winner.
With you.
Right.
And I know George
crowning
Weah.
achievement. And George Best is arguably, many people say he's the best player they've ever seen.
Yeah,
George Best.
I've heard that.
Okay.
I've heard that.
But he was born from Northern Ireland.
That means that we're giving a lot of
that's not
credence
taking
to
tails
club
from school.
football as it relates to like a Barcelona.
It's everything.
Everything.
We
The
have
totality.
to put them in a big
But I would imagine
box
that international football would be at the top and then it filters down.
Well, maybe, but there are some compelling club and otherwise records that would suggest that you have to understand that internationally there were reasons why some didn't shine as much as they could have. Now you have to continue voting on the sportsmax.tv/ultimate. That's where you get your vote online, and the power of the online voters speaking, and it leading us to 7 names of the Ultimate 11 list. We're now down to 10. We'll be right back with the panel and the zone team's deliberations for top 6 forwards from those remaining. Back after this.
Back with us on the SportsMax Zone. SportsMax Ultimate 11, sportsmax.tv/ultimate to get your vote in. The big reveal is on Friday's show. That's the 1st of May. And yeah, our online or expert pundits have been doing their bit. The zone hosts have been doing their bit. And the fans online have been voting up a storm. We will complete the slate of forwards on Thursday. And we'll have the big reveal of the team on Friday. Of course, the final 11 players selected weigh heavily in the online vote. 7 players were sent packing by virtue of the very low online votes that they got. And we discussed that in the previous segment. Remember, you can still swing the vote of the panel by voting online, as I noted, at sportsmax.tv/ultimate. So, yeah, 0% votes, so no votes for Jairzinho, Sandro Kocsis, Hugo Sanchez, the great Mexican, Alfredo Di Stefano, Eusebio, Sacrilege, Mario Kempes, and Ferenc Puskas. So the 10 who are left standing are these: Roberto Baggio, Georgie Best, Lionel Messi, Gerd Muller, Der Bomber, Pele, Romario, Cristiano Ronaldo, Original Ronaldo, Marco van Basten. He owned Euro 88, and the man who's now the president of Liberia, having succeeded Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. His name was George Weah. I remember in 1995 when he won the FIFA World Player of the Year. I was in going into grade 10 at high school, and the headline on the newspaper said, "By George, it's the right Weah." Brilliant headline. All right, online, I have a big baller and a big commentator, Juan G. Arango. He is arguably CONCACAF's finest match caller, and the man working alongside him is the man who starred at Stoke City, and I loved him at Hearts, and of course I loved him at Tivoli Gardens, and Ricardo Fuller is his name, a good brethren of mine. Ricardo and Juan. Let me start with you, Juan. So we have our list of 10 who are left standing, and we must get this list down to 6, meaning, Juan Arango, you don't need to go for your calculator, means 4 have to go, all right? So that's what the task is in front of us now, my friend. I want you to start talking to me, Juan, about the 4 from this list of 10 who we can cut adrift at this point of the discussion. What say you?
Ooh, people are going to kill me for this one. You have to start with Roberto Baggio. You have to start with Marco van Basten. Those are 2. Jairzinho is the other one. Romario you have to take out. I'm sorry, but if you start looking at the entire body of work, Romario towards the end of his career tended to wane a little bit, and it's the last one. And I think, you know what, you just brushed by one, George, that was incredible in terms of the word travesty that you were using so loosely. No Gabriel Batistuta on the list.
He could have been your wild card, though, my friend. He could have been your wild card.
He could have been. He could have been, actually. He was one of them, but I decided to use it right way before. And I'm going to have to take George Weah out.
Yes. All right, we're going to come back to that. That's your 4 at this moment. Ricky Fuller.
Good evening, George.
Evening, my friend. Talk to me. Which 4 of these 10 are you going to leave behind as we move forward? Talk to us.
I second one on those same 4. No disrespect to all the Romario fans, you know, the Van Basten fans and all the other, you know, Roberto Baggio fans. But the last 2 hours I've been trying to understand and trying to see who I can leave out and who I can, you know, it's tough. It's tough. And reason being, as I said to you earlier, before, you know, I have Pele, I have Ronaldo number 9, I have Gerd Muller, I have that was my original 6 that I said I was going to keep. I have Messi, Ronaldo number 7, and of course, who is the other one?
I think you named them. I think you named them all. I think you named them all. I think you got them all. I think you got them all. But hold on. But gentlemen, let us look at the men that you have agreed to cut adrift. Mr. Producer, give me some graphics now. Give me Marco van Basten, because these guys are dropping what. Well, all right. They say the profiles are for tomorrow. No problem. We can speak about them. Juan G, Roberto Baggio, the Divine Ponytail, the best player in the world going into the 1994 World Cup. We saw what he did in the USA. We know he was hobbled by a hamstring injury in the final, in which he missed that penalty famously at the at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. Are you comfortable dropping the Divine Ponytail, the former Juventus and Inter Milan star, so early, Juan G? I'm appealing to your good conscience on this one, my friend.
And that is my good conscience, and trust me, I will sleep very well tonight knowing that I left Roberto Baggio out. I'm not going to back down on that in that aspect. It's a tough call. It's not saying that he's not good. It's just that he is not at the level of some of these players on this list either. I mean, we start looking at it from the perspective of looking at some of the best forwards, some of the best number 9s by craft in the history of the game. I can't put Roberto Baggio in that list. I cannot see myself putting a player of that ilk.
So let me say, you said you dropped Jairzinho, little man. That's Romario from the T. Romario, who was an expert finisher. His time at Barcelona was tremendous. Maybe he didn't burn brightly for long with Brazil. Is that why you have left Jairzinho in the scrap heap, Juan G. Arango?
You start looking at the end of his career, maybe because his career ended up waning a little bit too much, and his obsession with the 1,000 goals and trying to go to Australia, coming here to Miami, going all over the place just for the sake of scoring a goal, a 1,000th goal. I think that's where it got a little bit too obsessive, and his play began to diminish with time, and he was more involved with more off of the field situations, and you started to see a Romario that maybe a decade or so that ended up kind of drifting, and maybe that's probably why and you didn't see that consistency you saw when he was playing at Barcelona, when he was playing at his peak with the Brazilian national team. Also, the arguments that he got into with coaches back in 1998, with Mario Zagallo being excluded from the 1998 World Cup team, when you start to see those types of situations. And also the entrance of Ronaldo Nazario into the mix and putting him aside without any problems, without any hesitation, also leads me to say, hey, do I actually leave Ronaldo out, or do I leave Romario out? It's a big question. It's not saying, again, that he's a bad player.
Hear you.
It's just saying that does he fit in terms of that?
Hear you on that. Ricky, the issue of George Weah. Look, I know you're a student of the game, Ricardo Fuller, and you are willing to let the man who popularized those red boots, the red Pumas, you're willing to leave George Weah out. Ricky, I'm giving you a chance to reconsider that selection.
No, George. Why I say that tonight, guys? When you look at the list is a tough list. Those players on the list, I mean, some other lists, yes, he would definitely be in the top 3, maybe, second, first, who knows? But this particular list that we're discussing right now, all those players are ahead of him. No disrespect. I totally admire and look up to George Weah from back in the days, Arsene Wenger days, signing him, all the stories that we heard about George Weah. Turning up at the training ground, Arsene Wenger saw him, asked him to come and train, and the rest is history. But when I look at the list, all those players that we chose are ahead of him, unfortunately. But Don't get me wrong, he's a wonderful, unbelievable, great striker.
All right, we're running hot. So, George Weah, star at AS Monaco, PSG, AC Milan, but he was finished by the time he came to Chelsea. So, we have agreed that George Weah is gone, Baggio is gone, Marco van Basten, the star of Euro 88, the man who, were it not for an ankle injury, would have scored about 1,000 more goals than he did in his career. He's gone. We need to send one more packing. So, I come to the zone hosts. Romario is what the men of the expert panel have said this afternoon. They're cutting Romario loose. What say this panel right here?
Right.
You're looking at your heart?
Yes.
Yes, I know you are.
He's one of my favorite footballers.
But is he as good as the rest on this list is a question.
When he was on top of his game, he was right there with them. This is my opinion. It changed of
But he
pace
didn't
and
burn
so
for long, brightly for long.
But he
that's
won
the
the
point.
World Cup in the United
Yes,
States.
94,
right?
yes.
And so therefore, I've always admired him. Yes, he had some issues outside of the game, especially when he was getting older. He had his business, and you remember this thing he did in his club with the coach, have the coach picture in the bathroom.
And Edmundo's picture on the door of his in the toilet. Yeah,
right.
all of that.
He did something. So I appreciate the fact that in terms of the class, he might have to go.
Yes.
And I would vote for him to go. Personally, for me, I'm very biased toward guys who have not represented their country with distinction.
Yes.
So therefore, like George Best, as great as they say he was, George Weah again, assigned in Jamaica, he came to play against the Reggae Boys right at the National Stadium.
Yes.
And he single-handedly funded the team as well. He looked after them and so on. So he's a great guy. But I agree with Wiley Bo that he cannot get in.
What say you, Lance?
And let him go as well.
My four that I'm letting go would be Baggio, Van Basten, Romario, and Gerd Muller.
Gerd Muller.
Yes.
You're dropping a German. Lance Whitaker is dropping a German.
Yes. Why is that so shocking?
It is shocking.
Stunning.
It is shocking. So what does that leave?
German and Australia.
What does that leave us with, Mr. Producer? Because you're keeping tabs. Are we? So Romario is gone.
Is gone.
Romario is gone, gentlemen. You've gotten rid of Romario.
Roger
no
has got to go.
And Ricardo Fuller is smiling. You know, he has just done a dastardly deed. Ricky, as we leave you, the six that are left standing. Of the six that are left standing, who is the most likely of the six? Don't tell me anything but this. Don't answer anything but this question. Who is the most likely of the six left standing that you would be inclined to leave first out of that six? To drop? Who? Looking at his list. Ricardo under pressure.
I have to check my list.
Which of the six would you drop? Are you most likely to drop?
Yeah.
George Best, Messi, Muller, Pele, Ronaldo, and Cristiano Ronaldo.
George Best is not on my list to stay, you know.
Okay.
He's not on my list to stay because he's the only player outside country who hasn't won a World Cup, or the best player they said to be outside of the World Cup.
You've answered the question, my friend.
So he wasn't on my original list.
You've answered the question.
He would be the first one to go, George Best.
You've spoken well, my friend. Juan G, Arango, I ask you the same question as we wrap. Of the six left standing, who would be the first for you to get rid of?
Oh man, I'm going to make this really, really, really controversial. I'm going to have people call you. I'm going to have people go ahead and set me.
Don't you dare, Juan. Don't you dare. I know what you're going to do.
Look,
I know what you're going to do.
I'm going to up it up. If Lance Whitaker was able to take out Gerd Muller.
Crazy.
I'm taking out Leo Messi.
Oh! Get that man a psychiatrist.
Yes.
1 year ago, you are a madman.
Open up another can of worms.
You're a madman. Guess what? Thankfully, we'll do that cutting on Thursday. So Juan, go home, have a cup of milk. Have a cup of milk and sleep well. Ricky, we'll talk to you another time. Juan, thank you for your time, gentlemen. We're gone.
Anytime, guys.
Lionel, did you hear that?
I think he just wants to be provocative. And
No, Juan is serious.
By the way, he's home. You just told him to go home, but he's home.
I'm not sure.
Yes, I think he is.
Just like when he omitted Ronaldinho.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Just being provocative, I said.
Yeah.
All right, so this is what we have. Mr. Producer says Baggio is gone, leaving Best, Messi, Muller, and Pele from this slate. And on the second slate,
Ronaldo's.
Marco van Basten, George Weah, Romario are gone, and Cristiano Ronaldo and Ronaldo are left standing. And in case you thought that Cristiano was named after Ronaldo, no. Cristiano Ronaldo's father was a big fan of Ronald Reagan, who was a big movie star in the 1970s, and he named his son after Ronald Reagan. So that's where the Ronaldo comes from in the Cristiano. Mr. Producer, what do we do now? Do we just say, take a break and take some pills and relax? Yes, Thursday is another day. Yeah, Juan Arango has dropped Lionel Messi and Pele is in trouble. Are you seeing what's happening, Master God? Whichever God you are?
Say what's joking.